welcome to another episode of Can You Connect? And this is Mr.WalkThatWalk. And today's video, we are going to be going over the roadblocks to dating in, the black community. So we have a long list of things, and we're going to try to get through all of it, but it's going to be a learning experience. Some of the stuff we know, some of the stuff, is new to us. So we're going to start off, let's say, and some of the stuff we've went over before. So some of it we're going to dig deeper into a little bit, and then we're also going to hit on other points as well. And as we know, some of the stuff is political. So sometimes different roadblocks will be, let's say, the biggest two is, let's say somebody's a Democrat or a Republican, and in times, there's been stories out where the family has ostracized the other family who, let's say, especially in the black community, let's say if they're Republican, because we've been going Democrat for so many years, doing something against the grain, against what we usually do, it causes shock. So a lot of people get shocked by that, and that shock, and that they feel like you're not for the community, or you're not doing things for the black community, or not doing anything that's going to help them. You're not voting for us, so we're going to cut you out. And these will be families. Families will be cutting each other out because of how they vote. So these are definitely certain things to keep in mind as well, especially with dating, because, some people might have an issue. Some people will not date you if you are somebody who is a Republican. They feel like, you're on the wrong side, and I don't want to date somebody like you. So those are definitely certain things to keep in mind as well. The next one is going to be, let's say, if you're able to have kids. So another point will be, some people are not able to have kids. Now, I will say there's research about people being able to figure out, like science. Science is out now to help people who can't have kids, help them have kids. So there's been some breakthrough with that to make things maybe be a little bit easier. However, that does cost money. So in a certain extent, you have to pay. You have to be able to pay a certain amount to be able to have children if you can't have them in a natural way. Our other one is going to be, let's say, location. So some people have an issue with where you live. Let's say some people are open. I will say, because everybody can connect with anyone from anywhere, people are more open to talking to somebody that doesn't live, let's say, close. But it still causes some type of conflict, because let's say this person, you might be dating somebody from far away, but you want somebody that's close. So now you're in a limbo where not only are you talking to somebody who lives close by, but you're also talking to somebody who lives far away. So now that causes conflict, and then some people might go with the person that's closer just because it's a bit easier, or they'll drag on the long distance stuff with the person who lives far away, and that would just cause more conflict if they are not serious about them. Now, if they're serious about them, which has happened, I've seen that too, where it's been long distance to the point where they live in another country and they move into the same country together. They move where one of each other is. That does work out as well, but sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes location is important, and sometimes you could live almost an hour away, and sometimes that's an issue for somebody. Sometimes they want you so close You have to be 10 minutes away. A walk away, a block away from them. That's how some people are. You know, I experienced that myself. I was like, I need to be that close. I'm like, I could get to you. It's not going to be like in an instant, but I could get to you. So that also kind of disrupts dating in the community as well, depending on how far you live as well. Because some people, it's way worse. It's like a 5-hour distance or 8 hours, 24 hours just to get them through a flight if you're traveling from a whole other country, depending on where the country is. Sometimes some countries are close, like let's say Canada or Mexico, because that's attached to, I'm in the U.S., so Mexico, Canada is close. Even the Caribbean is pretty close. All those countries are real next door. Like, I even say South America is pretty close. So the countries that are a bit closer, it makes it a little easier location-wise. Sometimes, if the people are open to it. If they're open to it, then that's okay. But if they're not open to it, then that brings up another roadblock of, okay, they're not interested in doing it. And that's okay. Because sometimes it's just easier to talk to people that's in your city or that lives in your state rather than somebody that lives miles away and may not be taking you serious. So that's another one. And we're also going to go over people who maybe have physical disabilities. So let's say if a person is disabled, are you okay with that? Are you okay with maybe we don't know the extent to it? So one thing is maybe let's say they just don't look like, they just have something off. Like maybe it's a finger or, maybe it's just a finger that's off, or it could be worse. But they could still do everything anybody else could do. Now, it could be worse to where maybe they don't have I think something extreme would be like maybe they don't have legs or something like that. Then, okay, now it's, am I open to taking care of this person? Can I put myself to the side to take care of somebody else, while I'm dating them? Oftentimes it's a hit or miss. So maybe I feel like most people who do have certain disabilities, they do date online rather than in person. I feel like they have opportunity, but I feel like it's much more challenging to date in person, especially if you're wheelchair bound or something like that. So those are other roadblocks that some people go through. And we're going to try to hit on all of them. Because if we hit on all of them, those are important too. Another one is religion. So most people, especially in the U.S., I'll say in the U.S., if you're a Christian, you want to date somebody else that's Christian. If you are not Christian, for the most part, they are not going to date you. Now, is there some occasions where they will? Sometimes. Sometimes they're open. Sometimes. But for the most part, if you are not a Christian, they are not going to talk to you. That's it. Whatever the main religion is in that country, they want that. And you got to be that. So if you're not that, then you run into different roadblocks. You want to talk to somebody who's more open. Even myself, I'm not that. I'm not a Christian. I'm not, like I don't practice that religion. So it's different for me in regards to dating as well, because you don't fit into the regular mode that everybody else is. And it's fair. It's fair to date what you want. I'm not saying it's not fair. I understand. But these are just certain things to be aware of when you're not doing what everybody else is doing, because people want to feel accepted, and they don't want to be somewhere and their family or friends find out that you're another religion, and then they make a big issue about it, and then that becomes an issue. So people like going with the grain. Why? Because it's going to cause less problems with their family and their friends, because they may not be as open to it. And we could get to the families and friends next, because they have a big impact on who you date. Because they're either going to support you and be like, yeah, we like this person, or they're not going to support you. But that could be a good or bad thing. Because their support could be genuine support, and they're genuinely looking out for you to where it's not overbearing. And then it's like, okay, yeah, we think this is a good person. Or it could be the opposite, where they're overbearing and they don't really have a sense of knowing you, but they're just trying to control you. And if you're trying to control, then that leaves more static. So now and with that static, that person's just going to go against their family and date whoever they want to date, which is going to cause more drama as well. You know, whoever you told me not to date, I want to date them. Rather, you just let them be who they're going to be. That's going to cause less drama. And the less drama you have, it's going to be the better. But some families are pretty stubborn. They're pretty stubborn, and they're just like, this is this, and that's it. But we got to be open and more nimble, because if we're not, it's just, you know, people are just, the family's just going to, that person's going to run away from their family just to find peace of mind, rather than their family just being them to support them. So those are also things as well to keep out for. And we're gonna go. I might huddle back to family as well, because family just plays a big part. But we'll be back to family. So that was we got a little cliffhanger on family. We're going to come back to it. The next one's going to be racism. So black people often, in the U.S. And other countries where there's a small black communities, they deal with certain racism. So they deal with racism, and with that racism, with that, you know, you're not accepted. We don't value you. You know, we hate you. So if you're getting all this hate from your people in your country, then that's going to cause a lot of drama, a lot of conflict. And with that drama and conflict, that's going to some people, bring self-hate to them. If you're getting that hate, now where does that hate go? Are you allowing it to bounce off you? Or are you taking it in and now you're hating yourself? You're hating everything about you, to the point where you're disowning who you are to be in other people's communities. Now it's all about, well, what do they want? How much do I have to change myself to get their acceptance? Because that's what it does to some people in the community. They're chasing an acceptance from other people in other communities. You know, we see it all the time. You know, that's why they feel a bit, that's why they're afraid. They're afraid to love themselves. They're afraid to love their people. They're afraid to commit to them, because they're searching for that acceptance in other communities. Because, you know, in the news and everything else, it's like, oh, these communities are way better, blah, blah, blah. Like, they're always being highlighted, and then your community's always being downgraded. So that makes you feel like, oh, you know, we don't, you know, we're not important, or we're not valuable, or we're not enough. So those things definitely affect dating as well. That's a big effect. Wanting to be accepted rather than finding the acceptance in you. Learning to accept who you are. Even with the outside noise. Even with the outside drama. Just accepting you first. Another roadblock is going to be sexism. Because apparently that's pretty popular now with the genders going back and forth with each other. Like there's drama, there's conflict with men and women where, let's say, the men are not treating the women good and the women are not treating the men good. And now it's just like a battle on social media. You know, maybe out in the real world you'll see it somewhat, but not all the time, because really somebody wants to find their person. But now in this generation, it's like something in the back of your head like that. Oh, da 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 da, like that negative feeling. And then when you have that negative feeling, that causes people to, if you're teaching people not to like the other gender, there's not going to be no families. There's not going to be no children. And that's been reported as well. There's been a lack of children somewhat due to the cost of having children and having a family, but also due to the hate of this gender war. This, oh, I don't like men, or I don't like women. You know, that conflict and that anger you have towards that person, that whole gender, is like, how can you want to be with somebody but don't at the same time? Because in certain instances, these are straight people having these conversations, and I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. Because yes, can somebody individually do something to you in a relationship that makes you feel upset? Yes. Or could you even get married to somebody and they do you dirty? Yes, they can. Is that everybody? No. That's not everybody. And if you want to be married again, or if you want to get in another relationship again, you can. But I think it's taking time to get to know somebody. And let's say you did take the time to get to know somebody. Everybody's different. Not one person is going to be the same person. There's always going to be something different about the next person. Now, can somebody have similar mannerisms? Can somebody have similar... There's similarities that people can have with each other. Yes, that is true. However, if you treat everybody different and see them for who they are, and then decide, okay, can I be with this person long term? Rather than, oh, you're just like her. I'm like, no, or you're just like him. Like, certain men and women think differently. And because men and women think differently, some women are going to have some similarities and some men are going to have some similarities. So you got to go with the person who, if you feel like you want somebody in a gray area, you got to go through the numbers. You have to go through the numbers. Just like whatever you're doing. If you got to apply to 100 jobs, you're going to have to apply to 100 jobs. If you got to date 100 people, you got to date 100 people, 100 plus. So you can meet the right person. You can't just be like, oh, I have one bad relationship, or two, or maybe three, and you're done. Like, is that your goal? Is your goal to be done, or is your goal to be in a relationship or married? Because if your goal is to be in a relationship or married, learn. Learn. There's something you learn with each interaction you have with somebody. And what you learn from whatever happened, you learn from it and you go to the next. There's a growing process. You should be growing in after every relationship to get you to the end goal of marriage. So if you're not learning something and you're running into the exact same person, then either you're in an environment, you're going to the same environments to meet the same people, or there's something about you that has to change. Because you're attracting this sameness about you. Rather than blaming everybody else, there's something about you that has not changed that needs to be worked on. So you can maybe attract something new, something different. Or you have to be open to something different. Maybe that person did come out, but rather than being open to it, push the person to the side. So if you push the person to the side, and that person could have been different, then we gotta be open. We can't be like, oh, they're the same person all the time, and then be upset about it. No. You have to do something different to get a different result. Doing the same thing, thinking you're going to get the same result, that's not going to help you in the long term. So rather than being a certain way, just be open to learning. Be open to seeing things a bit differently. Because the more open you are and the more you take time to learn yourself and learn other people, it makes your life easier. Take time to learn the other gender. Well, what do they like? What do they do? Or why do they act this way? That'll make your life a little bit easier. Taking your time to get to know them. And seeing why you're clashing more with the opposite gender than getting along. Because if a man is coming off, let's say, more emotional, then he may get in more conflict with a woman who's also emotional. Or, opposite, if a woman is more aggressive, then she may get in conflict with men because men sometimes can be aggressive. So there's a clash. There's something that's causing the conflict. Figure out why are you causing the conflict, and how can you work on it? Because we can't just apologize. We gotta work on it too. We can't be like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, like that needs to be like, you need to work on that to see the difference. So no prejudice. Take your time. Go out. Meet people. There's so many events you can go to, and there's no events in your area, then you need to find another area. And that's going to be the next thing. We're going to go back to location, but in a different sense. If there is nothing to do in your location, nobody goes out, nobody does anything. You live in a place where nobody should be. You shouldn't be there. Because if you're trying to date and marry, why are you somewhere ain't nobody going to? I would say at least be somewhere, especially if you want to date in the black community, be somewhere where black people are. If you want to date in the black community. I feel like that's fair. I'm like, in the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, all around that area. New York, New Jersey. Other places, I'll say Houston. I think there's a decent amount of us in Atlanta, Georgia. But they do say their relationship is iffy there, but I don't know. I can't say. I don't live there. I just visit. I visit, I have fun, and I go home. I was like, I don't know for a fact. That is hard, but some people say it's challenging. Maybe, I don't know about Florida. I don't know how it is in Florida. There might be a decent amount that's there in Florida. But figure out where we're at. Louisiana, like New Orleans. Like, go to the areas or go to a surrounding areas that's close to it where you know we're going to be. Or visit. If you really don't want to move, visit the areas where we're at. Because if you visit the areas, you might run into somebody. Now, are they going to move with you back to the area? I don't know. You might need to move with them to where they at. But it depends. You never know. Somebody come up more quiet life. They might be interested in moving wherever you are, where nobody is. But we can't be mad if we not meet nobody. You ain't somewhere where people can meet you. At least go out. Have fun. If you in a house 24/7, you ain't gonna meet nobody. You know, they have online dating, but it's only going to take you but so far. So far, you can't. You can do multiple things. You can go outside too. But online dating was popular during the pandemic. It's not the pandemic anymore. And everybody's mostly outside. Except for the introverts. The introverts might still be on online dating because it's comfortable. Or if they're super busy with work, some of those people might be on there too. Or some people going to be playing on there. Some people going to be playing on there too. Some people not going to take it serious. So there's that too. There's online dating as well. It's like hit or miss. Could be good, could not. You know, there's not a lot of people on there now because everybody's outside. Everybody's having fun. But if you're an introvert, maybe trying to meet another introvert, then you might have some luck. You might. You might have some luck. You might have some luck finding somebody. Potentially. But you got to go through the numbers, just like you got to go through the numbers in person. If you're going to commit to that. But at least go out a little bit. At least once a week. Once a week. If you go out once a week, I feel like that's okay. There's an event once a week. Depending on where you're at, let's talk about the weather. Depending on where you're at in the country, you in the South, like, I'll say Houston, maybe like Miami, Tampa, Orlando. I'm going to say New Orleans again. Maybe South California. I think West Coast is warm. Where we would be at, I think weather-wise it's warm. So if you're in the area where it's always nice, environment looks good. What? Like, why not? Why are you not out there? Because they're going to have events all the time. Now, on the places up here where it gets cold, like even the East Coast, like even my area gets cold. This area gets cold. So, we not outside at a certain point. Once that joint, once it hits like 40 degrees below, that's it. 40 and below, that's it. Probably like fall, like probably around like November, December, that's it. We are in the house until May or April. But sometimes we go out. If it's a real good event that we know is coming up, like New Year's Eve or maybe some other events going on, we might go out. Might go out. It has to be a real good event if we're going out and it's cold out. Are we going to go out every single week? We can in the DMV because we have a lot of events lined up. And people in New York too, I feel like they can go out almost every day. If you're in New Jersey, surrounding area, you could. But are they? When it's cold, hit or miss. Hit or miss. It can. But yeah. If you're in a nice area, what? If you go to the beach every week and you in a real nice area, like, what you doing? Like, there's so much fun to be had. But I will say in the art area, since it does get cold, there's people who have seasonal things. So let's say like seasonal depression, like you're sad because maybe you can't go out, it's cold out, you know, the sun's not out, or you know, you're having a big winter storm, you get stuck in the house. So those seasons kind of bother people sometimes. So there's seasonal things where that could affect dating as well. If the seasons are up, it's like, oh man, it's gonna be cold. I can't, you know, go nowhere. Da 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 da. You know, people feel down. Sometimes it can be the opposite, but it's more rare for somebody to get sad when it's spring and summertime. But fall and winter, yeah. Yeah. Not as warm. People don't go out like that. Because sometimes everybody wants to connect. Everybody wants to connect with people. Everybody wants a connection, be able to talk to people. You know, be social. You know, being isolated to yourself 24/7, that is not healthy. You know, you're not going to know how to socialize. You're not going to know how to talk to people. You're not going to know how to be around people. And if you don't know those things, then that's going to cause conflict when it comes to dating. Even with meeting somebody, it's going to be a problem. And it's more common in this generation, this younger generation, because of the pandemic. They're used to just being home. They ain't not outside like we was outside, like my generation. They are not outside. So can you imagine how that affects social skills with the pandemic? Them not being able to socialize, they was cut off from everybody. They had to do this, Zoom and everything else online for about a year or so, year or two, and then throw them back in there and said, "Figure it out." It's like, what? Like, yo, they went back, educational wise, social skill wise, like, you know, get them back into it. Some were able to bounce back, you know, some were not. You know, some are still struggling. Some are still having issues and having conflict because of the pandemic. You know, that also affected people's finances. You know, the pandemic, what the government done, like taking people's jobs and stuff like that. So, not having, that affects dating. If you don't have enough to take care of yourself, that's going to affect your ability to go out and want to date or want to be around people, because you so focused on survival mode. And a decent amount of black people are on, I'm not saying all or a lot, but a decent amount. A decent amount is on survival mode. So it's going to be hard for them to grow, to connect with people, to be around, to date, because they just trying to, a bunch of people live paycheck to paycheck. And when you live paycheck to paycheck, you just trying to do anything and get yourself by. And some people do stuff they're not supposed to do and put themselves in situations they're not supposed to be in just to get by. So they might be dealing with you, but they don't even want to be dealing with you. But they're dealing with you because you have a resource to help them. Why? Because they're surviving. They don't know their next meal. They're not eating that often. They're struggling to pay bills, rent, worried about being kicked out, worried about being put on the street. You know, worried about becoming homeless. So there's people dealing with those things as well. You know, if you're living on taking it day by day, that's going to cause a lot of issues, a lot of problems if you're living that way, if you're living that type of way. So those are things to keep in mind as well. You know, some people don't have it like that. But we're not saying, oh, a lot of people have it like that. No, a decent amount are having issues where they can't do certain things. And that makes them not available with communication, makes them maybe more a bit hot-headed, you know, more on guard, you know, more feel like they're going to be judged because they don't have, you know, or they hide about asking for help when they could just ask for help, but they don't because they have that pride. So those are certain things certain people go through. So that also affects dating as well. There's people who are, some people are in prison. Some people committed crimes. So if you committed crimes, then that takes you off the dating market as well, until you get out. But committing any crime, anything you did, maybe when you were younger or older, that takes you out. That takes you off. You're not able to bounce back. And then the people who went through that, the people, whoever you did that to, that went through that crime, whoever you robbed, whoever you maybe took somebody's life, whatever, some type of abuse, like whatever happened that you did to somebody else, that affects that person. So now that's trauma. So now we have crimes that are being committed, and the victims who are dealing with the trauma, that affects them. Because now we have mental health issues in the black community. Now we got people going through PTSD. So they got trauma. So they don't know if they can trust you. So now they get triggered by certain things. Or they got anxiety, like where they feel scared to go out or fear to be around people. Or they got depression to where it's hard for them to take care of themselves to go out and be around people. They might have bipolar to where they get manic and then they just destroy all their relationships, with family or friends or with whoever. So there's certain things, certain mental health that affects people. And is mental health more popular now? Yes. Is it still challenging at times to get people in the black community to buy into it? Yes. In certain situations, it can be. But the problem's there. The problems be so loud that if you would have got them into therapy way sooner, they would have been good. They would have had so much progress. We would have really be able to help them through it. Instead of getting them on later, when you just figured out, oh my God, I think they need therapy. We hit them later. It's hard. It's hard to get somebody later in therapy if it's been years when a problem started in the beginning. It's been years. And this goes back to the family. This goes back to the family not being open. Not being open to therapy. Not being open to seeing a problem. There's a problem literally right there that is not being solved. You're not helping the situation. You're making it worse. And sometimes the family just makes stuff worse. Sometimes the family is causing the trauma, causing the abuse, causing the neglect. So sometimes they're not even going to put their kids in therapy because they're the person causing the pain to their child. So it's a lot. It's a lot that happens in the community to where it's like, yeah, how is that person going to date? How is that person going to date somebody or trust somebody if they can't even trust their family? They can't even trust their parents to look out for them or take care of them. That person's not going to trust no spouse unless they seek help in the beginning. Or if they got it later, they really have to be open to it later. They really have to be open and ready to it and boom, doing the work. But getting somebody later in the game, it makes the process so hard because they're so reluctant to change because that chaos, that drama, that abuse is a norm. So they're going to get with people that's abusive. They're going to get with people that treat them wrong because their family treated them wrong. That's a normal thing. So when people see something positive, when people see somebody that has their back, That's foreign. It's foreign to being something peaceful and healthy. So and that's in our community. We see it, and that's in our community. That's why some people act a certain way. That's why people act a certain way. And they can't move on from that stuff. You know? And be like, oh, it's the big stuff. I'm like, sometimes it's not even the big stuff. Sometimes it's literally the parents cheating on each other. Y'all married. Y'all cheating on each other. How do you think that affects a kid? You don't think that's going to affect your kid dating? If they see you cheating, they think they're going to get cheated on. Now they paranoid about that. They haven't been in a relationship to be cheated on, but they're already in a mindset of, okay, people aren't going to be faithful. So it's a lot. It's a lot of trauma that could come from the family that could affect dating. It's a lot of trauma. Oh, we can't, and imagine we're going to get to taboos. All this trauma is going on. And some families make taboos. Oh, we can't talk about this. We can't go over. What do you mean? You mean there's abuse happening? You mean there's neglect happening? You mean there's awful things happening? And you're saying this is a taboo conversation? So you're saying this person can never heal because it's a taboo? We're not supposed to talk about it? These are roadblocks. I'm going over all the roadblocks that affect dating in the black community. All the roadblocks. Because some people are not aware. Some people don't understand. Some people have no idea about the stuff that happens. And when you don't have an idea on the things that are happening, you're like, oh, people get amazed. People are like, wow, this happens. That's why you'll have certain people be like, oh my God, they don't like dating within their own race. Sometimes it's because of that. Sometimes it's the trauma from their own family, the trauma from their own parents. They're like, yo, I don't want to be around them anymore. So, we talk about racism that could affect somebody dating within their culture, within their race. But sometimes it could be the trauma from their family. They'd be like, no, I don't. I want to. I'm like, going through what I went through. I don't want to be around nobody like that. And some people don't want to address that. Some people don't want to address that, that y'all, it's a problem. But you're going to be mad? You cause your child to feel this way about us, about your community. That made them want to date outside their race. I'm not going to be mad that they're doing that. I'm like, hey, you're going to do what's best for you. But that affects dating within our own community. That affects that. So sometimes it's like, it's not just about, these people were propped up and, these people are deemed as the most beautiful, blah, 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 by society. It's not just that. It's they were traumatized by their family and they don't want anything that resembles that. So that could be reasons as well why people don't date inside their own community. And imagine people are seeing that. And that's what other cultures and other ethnicities and nationalities see. So let's say you're dating inside your own community, but maybe you're dating, maybe you're Black American dating somebody who's West Indian or somewhere from the continent of Africa or somebody from South America that are also Black, or like Afro-Latino or something like that. Like, some have negative aspects of us because of propaganda and it goes both ways. The propaganda goes both ways to where the negatives were out there about each other in negative ways. And I will say that that's more so with the older generation, that there was a lot of beef. I feel like my generation, the younger generation, we have friends who are West Indian or from the continent of Africa. We may not have a lot of friends that are black from South America. We have few, but from what I see, I don't see a lot of black people from South America, like Brazil. Like, they're here, but I don't think they're in numbers. Like, the people I see in numbers are like West Indian, like all over the Caribbean islands, all over the continent of Africa. Like, they're all here. So, you know, I have friends from different countries. We're more connected now, and since we're more connected, we have a bit less drama. Even though they try to push it on social media, it's not really what it is. You know, that black marriage versus this and that. I was like, it's there, but it's not at the same time, because there's so many black people from different ethnicities, not nationalities, like marrying each other. So I was like, it's not as bad. But I feel like the only things that would cause issues is the lack of teaching. So, because there's a difference, because there is different cultures, you should be explaining your culture and why y'all act a certain way, why y'all do certain things, because that's going to make it easier. Because if you hide things that your culture does, that's just going to cause more conflict and drama. Because now a person doesn't understand why are y'all doing this? Like, why do y'all do this? But if you're willing to teach and express certain things, because, you know, it makes it easier. Y'all can get along better. You know, if the families are open to each other, that makes things way easier as well. But they need to know your culture. They need to know why y'all do certain things. That's going to help. Be like, oh, okay. Because with that understanding, then somebody could be sympathetic to it. Then we could be understanding towards each other. But what you don't say will harm the relationship or marriage. What you do say will help. So those are things to keep in mind about that. And speaking of different things, there's also, we're going to get into the LGBTQ community. I focus more so on heterosexuals. However, there's still issues to where they don't feel open enough. You know, you would think, oh, they just date inside their community and that's it. No. Sometimes people are not being open and honest about their sexuality. And everybody doesn't have to know. But the main person that does have to know is the person you're dating. So if you're into X, Y, and Z, let that person know. Don't hide something and then something comes out and it's going to be drama. Because at this point, especially in the U.S., be yourself. Now, if you're in a country and you can't be yourself, I don't know. You have to go you'd have to leave the country or you'll be in hiding. Like, it'll be like a huge secret. But in the U.S., you could be whatever you want to be. You don't have to claim to be anything. You don't have to be something. Even though family or maybe other people might want you to, the black community overall might want you to be straight. They might want you to be straight for real. But If you're not, it's not an unnorm now. You don't have to get with somebody that's heterosexual to try to hide stuff. You don't have to mess them up, mess up their life, because it's almost like it's they see you a certain way, and then if something comes out that totally destroys everything about you and other people, because now they're just going to be on guard for the rest of life. They don't know what's what, because you weren't upfront and honest from the beginning, or you shouldn't be dealing with them from the beginning, because y'all have your own spaces. So why go in somebody else's space if you have your own space? It makes more sense to stay there, because you're going to cause more conflict. More conflict is going to be caused if you're not. If the LGBTQ, just date the LGBTQ, and you're not dating people that's heterosexual, leave them alone. If you leave them alone, we're good. Now, if they come over there, that means they're not heterosexual. If they're coming to you, you let them come to you. If they really not who they are and they faking it, yeah, let that person come over there. That's how I see it. Because all the hiding and you're just causing more drama. You can just be yourself. In 2026, you could be whoever you want to be, who you are. So be that, be who you are. Let people be. Leave people in their space, and you got your space. That's how it should be. Because I get it. I'm like, I get that, we don't want to be ostracized. You're not ostracized. You just can't date those people. That's really what that is. I was like, people say, study who you are, but you be respectful. So those are the main things about that. Another one we're going to get into a little bit is ageism. Some things are a little less serious is ageism. Some people don't like people being older than them. Some people don't like people being younger. Some people will not date younger people. Some people will not date older people. Some people want to just stay and get with their age group. However, if something happens in somebody's life, maybe they didn't have an older figure, or maybe anything can happen to where somebody would be like, you know what, maybe I'm going to try. Or maybe they had a bad experiences dating people younger. Maybe they'll date somebody older. Or maybe they had bad experience dating within their age, so they date somebody younger. So sometimes that can happen. But when you do that, you just got to be aware of somebody using you or not. So you got to make sure somebody's not using you. Because a younger person could use an older person. Why? Because they have financial stability, they have money, they have resources. Or the older person could be using the younger person, really controlling them and controlling everything about what they do. Why? Because they're younger and they could be gullible. A decent age gap is okay, but don't date somebody that's a teenager. Like, don't be weird. Don't do that. Like, let them be like 21 and up, like 21 plus. Like, come on. Like, really, it should be 25 and up for real. But let's just stick to 21 and up. At least that. You shouldn't be going under that. Like, if you're a certain age, I'm just like, we just want to protect our community, and that's part of it. Protecting the kids, protecting the women. The men need to be protected too, but protect the kids and the women. That's first. So those are important things as well. With the age-wise. Because some people will not give you opportunity depending on your age. It's funny. But other than the age, some other things, some other factors are, let's say, maybe could be somebody's health-wise. Health-wise in the community, it can be troubling. I feel like I feel. Let's say people don't really do their self-care. And when you don't do your self-care, you don't look attractive. If you're not taking care of yourself. If you're overdoing something. You're overeating. You know, we're not saying, oh, you can't have like normal weight on you, but when it's like 10 times your regular weight, that's going to affect you dating. Dating, that's going to affect that because not everybody's going to be attracted to that. Like, there's going to be like maybe a handful that might be, but that's not a norm thing that somebody would be attracted to. So, but if you're taking care of your health and you're a normal size for you, I'm not talking about being uber skinny. We're just talking about being normal weight for your body. You shouldn't be excessive. You shouldn't be excessively where it messes with your health. Why? Because not only do we have issues with the weight department, we have issues with health. We have health diseases. Like, black people do not live long because of their health. High blood pressure, diabetes, cancers. We don't get checked up that often. So if we're not getting checked up that often, that's going to affect dating as well. Why? Because you don't live long. If you don't live long, you can't live with somebody for a full term of life. Because you're not taking care of yourself. So that's not fair to your future kids if you have kids. And then you get taken out by something that could have been handled. That's not fair. That's not fair to not only your kids, your spouse. That's not fair to them. They trying to be in it with you for the long run, but you're going to take yourself out early because of something you could have handled? Whew. We got things to work on. We have a lot to work on. So these are the factors. These are the things that's affecting the community. You know, not only that, it's addiction. And for the ones that don't seek the mental health, that don't seek healing, if you're not healing, sometimes you could do the inner work and really work on yourself. Sometimes you could do that. I'm not saying you can't do the inner work on yourself to work on yourself, but some people go to substance. So we have substance abuse in our community. Drugs. Heavy drugs. Nowadays, people are not sober. People are taking a substance almost every single day. I'm not saying it's everybody, but there's a decent amount of people who's taking a substance every day. They are not sober. So imagine, how can you date somebody if you're not in your right mind? They don't know who the real you is. Because you're always on the substance. You're always drunk. You're always high. You're always on whatever pills you're on. Whatever it is, you're always on it. Rather than being yourself. Rather than being who you are. Going through those emotions, whether it's sad, whether it's anger, whatever grief, whatever it is. Going through that. Go through that emotion. Feel those emotions. Why avoid them? Why run from them? That's not going to make it better. That's not going to improve anything. You're going to be running your whole life. That means you're going to be on substance your whole life. And you know what substance is going to mess with? Your health. So now we're back on health. Because the things we could work on, why run? Why run? We could work on it. Everything I'm talking about can be worked on. We just gotta be willing. Because you don't need it. It costs you more money. So imagine all the money you're spending on it. You could have been saving it. Using it for something you need. Using it to take care of yourself. And that goes into money-wise. Let's go into classes. I'm like, yeah, we don't deal with those people. Yeah, we look down on people. Yeah, if you're not on this upper action line, we don't deal with you. That's how some people are. Some people are very hierarchy. Oh, if you're not this, or you're not doing this, we don't got time for you. So there's definitely those bougie people like that. There are people like that do that. Should they be doing that? No. I understand in a certain occasion. I understand you can't be dating people that's messed up. That's true. You want to date other healed people. That's understandable. But the looking down on people, you don't need to look down on somebody. You got to treat people right. Treat people well. Okay, yeah, we don't date people that do blah, blah, blah. Cool, that's fair. Treat people right. Because that affects people. That affects how people feel. That affects other people dating-wise. And that goes to, that could destroy somebody's motivation. So imagine they're already getting told in certain ways they'll never be anything in life. So there's a death of motivation like that. It's a motivational killer. So now their motivation is killed. Now, boom. Now that affects people. That takes them out of the market of dating because they stopped trying in life. They gave up in life. Life beat them down so much that they can't see a way of going forward. These are things that we have to think about. These are things that we have to be aware about, because that's why I say we gotta treat each other with kindness. We gotta treat each other with some type of respect, because sometimes we don't get that from everybody or other people. So those things are important. Some people weren't able to have a childhood. Some people weren't able to be kids growing up. That affects them. Some people had a hard childhood. And some people had a hard childhood due to colorism. Some people have hard childhoods because of that. Because you're a certain skin complexion. People are so terrified of somebody being dark skinned. So, oh my God, dating somebody dark skinned. And you know where that comes from? That comes from, they get it from somewhere. The kids get that from somewhere. So who are they getting that from? Their family. Oh, we don't want you to be too dark or blah, blah, blah. Don't talk to somebody too dark. What are we talking about? Do you know how that affects not only your children, but dating-wise? Other people that look like you just because they're a darker complexion, we're going to mistreat them. You know how that sounds? That sounds crazy. Why? Because you want to fit into the societal norm of being close to white? So we're going to hurt our own people just to try to fit in with something else. It doesn't make any sense. All our people are beautiful. All of them. Not going to downgrade people. Oh, I only date da da da. And you have a right to have a preference, but when somebody's we're only when it becomes overwhelmingly light-skinned people, overwhelmingly biracial people, people that don't even look black, and we're saying they're the beauty norm for black people? No, somebody black should be the beauty norm. Somebody dark skin should be a beauty norm. Because if we're saying tall, dark, and handsome for the men, shouldn't it be short, beautiful, dark skinned women for the women? How y'all switch that up? How y'all switch that up? Like, what? And I'm not going to say for the men wise, it's tall, dark, and handsome for men, but it's also, they also do go for the tall, light skinned, or biracial guys as well. So those are the two for men. You know, curly hair with the light skinned guy. Yeah, they have that. Yeah. But for the women, it's like only just light skinned women or biracial women. Those, I was like, what? Like, we have a bunch of beautiful dark skinned women and brown skinned women. Like, that's weird. But that goes back to the self-hate. That goes back to hating who we are, hating everything about ourselves. And when we're hating stuff about ourselves, we hating not only the color of our skin, our features, nose, lips. Where people are running to get a bigger nose or not really bigger nose. They run to get bigger lips. But to the point where we're getting surgeries to make our nose look skinny. Look at my nose. Do I look crazy? If my nose does look like this, don't I look crazy? I look crazy if I do that, right? To the point where our people are having surgery to not look like themselves. Why? Because we bully certain features, certain colors, certain textures, our hair. Bullied from having the hair that we grow out our head. Who says straight hair looks beautiful? Like, what? Who said that? Sometimes it's our family that say crazy stuff. Sometimes the family says crazy stuff about how we look, how dark you are, how your hair looks, your lips, your features, your nose. Maybe you shouldn't have kids if you don't like how you look. If you hate how you look, you shouldn't have had children. I won't even say don't even have children with another race, because they could come out looking like you. You don't know. It's a toss up. It's a toss up. Each kid looks different. You don't know what features they're going to have. You don't know what they're going to look like. But if you have self-love, and if you love yourself, then okay, cool, have kids with anybody, don't matter, whatever. But you hate yourself, and you're teaching to hate how you look to your kids. That's why they do that. That's why they do that. And then we want to look at them crazy because they're doing these things. The young girls that are doing surgery, you never see their hair. Never. And I can't even say it's all women. It's men too. It's men. They will never have their natural hair up. They'll always have it cut dumb low. You'll never see their fro. They'll never have a fro, never locks, never cornrows. To a certain point, some black people ostracize other black people for having locks. Having a natural looking hairstyle. Oh, and then we get on cornrows. Oh, they're the jailhouse cornrows. Like, what? Like, what are we talking about? We have natural hairstyles that look awesome. That only our hair can do. So why would we hate on that? Why? What? We could do multiple types of hairstyles that doesn't have to look like straight hair. That looks natural for us. How our hair comes out. community, but the family, whew. It is so much work. I mean, it's getting. I can't say it's awful. I will say things are getting better bit by bit. Bit by bit, slow as a time. So that affects my child. Them loving themselves. That affects them growing up because they feel like, they don't belong. I'll even say the light-skinned kids as well. Like, the light-skinned kids, the dark-skinned kids, like, the dark-skinned kids will say, they say I'm too black. Or the light-skinned kids say, I don't look black enough. So we're just not accepting each other. I will say there's a difference. There's a difference if you are biracial or multiracial. You got all these other races. There's a difference. I wouldn't say you could declare yourself black because you grew up differently. And it's okay that you grew up differently, and you have to accept that you have other nationalities or ethnicities in you. But you can't claim that I'm black. You claim you're biracial, claim you're multiracial. That's okay. We don't want to claim everybody. You don't want to have everybody as your representation when they didn't even grow up in that environment. That's different. We want to accept that there's a difference of growing up black and there's growing up biracial or multiracial, and that's okay. It's not like we're going to disown you because you're something else. It's okay that you're something else, and we accept that. And you should accept your other races that's in you. That's okay. Especially if both your parents are something different. One parent black, one parent white, or Hispanic, or Asian. Okay. That's okay. But you can't be the representation for us. If you're not black, or you don't have a black experience. You don't have two black parents. You can't say, I'm representing y'all. Can't do that. Doesn't make no sense. You don't look like us. You don't grew up like us. It's a difference. You can be an ally. Allies are cool. But we can't allow people who are not allies to come around. Or people trying to tear down the community from inside. Can't allow that. Can't let everybody in. Some people come in, but we gotta be aware of who we're letting in our communities as well. You can't let predators in your community. You can't let people who are violent in your communities. Violent people should not be in a community. Whatever the race, even they look like us. Like, you can't let your children grow up in an environment where they're shooting, where it's chaos, where it's drama, where people are out of order. That's an unsafe environment that's going to cause trauma. And that person is going to feel unsafe. And maybe they'll never go out. They'll always be home. They're always going to be here. They never explore to meet people, to date. So those are things as well. Having a safe environment to be in. Because sometimes kids don't have that. So that messes up their child. Not only not being accepted for what they look like. They're in an unsafe environment. So if you're in an unsafe environment, why would you bring somebody in today? Why would you bring a child in today? What happened to us promoting protection? Protection. Use protection. That's okay. Especially if you're not ready. If you're not ready, it's okay that you're not ready. It's okay to take your time. You don't have to rush into anything. And then regret. Because then what's that regret's going to do? That regret's going to bring more trauma to the kid. Because you know what? You can kick that spouse out your life. But your kid is your spouse. Your kid is going to have traits of your spouse. mannerisms of your spouse, or the person you were with, whether you married, was in a relationship with them, or you were just playing around with them. So you're gonna there's a hate growing for your child. Now there's hate towards your child because they're like the other parent. Why would you do that to them? Why put them in that situation? When you can just work on yourself, take your time, go with the motions. Take your time, figure out that person's for you. Don't rush into anything just because we should not be chasing a feel-good moment. If you're chasing something that feels good, there's consequences to our actions, and we need to be responsible of what we're doing. There's consequences. You can't just do anything and everything. There's consequences of what you do. You can't do that. You have to be aware of what you're doing and how you're doing things, so we can have a better society. So we could treat each other well, do right by each other, so the kids could grow up in healthy environments where they're even allowed to be creative. Because some kids are not even creative anymore. They just follow along with whatever social media is because they didn't really have a childhood to build that creativity. They don't know who they are because they're chasing everybody else. They don't know who to be. You're not teaching them. You're not loving them. So they're going to look at the celebrities. They're going to look at all the people who are popular and just have immense love for them rather than loving themselves. Loving these people they don't know from anywhere. Because we're not showing them love. But when you show them love, then they don't have to seek this outside validation, especially from people who don't even care about them. Because sometimes they put some people in the community and be like, yeah, love this person, but they don't love you. They don't even speak well about you. They actually mistreat you because of what they put out. Because we run to these things. We run to these negatives. We run to the athletes, the musicians, like all these people who deem. I'm like, but they're not positive for us. There's a lot of them that are negative for us. They're negative for the community. They do negative things. And if they're doing negative things, you want to cancel something, cancel them. So these are certain things that are affecting the black community. We're not loving each other. We're not supporting each other. And those things are going to have horrific effects on us. And if we don't work on these things now, family-wise, community-wise, it's going to cause immense problems in the future for us. We're not going to be able to make it because we're not tight-knit with each other. So this will definitely conclude this episode. I definitely appreciate everybody for watching. This one was a challenging one, but hopefully it will be eye-opening. Hopefully it will help some people. Hopefully we'll wake up and just be better towards each other and show love towards each other. So, of course, we're going to be supporting a black-owned business. It's a restaurant called Elife. It was a nice vegan restaurant. Food was good. I can't wait to go back there. Food was, good. They had vendors there. It was a cool experience. I'll put all their information in the details below, of course. Support the musician who does music, the person who does my avatar, and myself. I'm a clinical social worker for the state of Maryland. So, if you're interested, just send me an email. So definitely thank y'all. And y'all definitely have a good rest of the night and a good rest of the week.
But we must know to forgive.